made a fatal mistake!
Bravo is ours. Face off domination. Remind the fugitives that actions have consequences. Securing B. Securing C. B secured. The lead is ours. We control Zone C. Securing Zone A.
Do you think that's funny?
Losing Bravo.
You just made a fatal mistake!
Bravo lost. Taking Bravo underway. Taking Alpha. We're losing Charlie. They're taking C. Securing Zone A.
You just made a fatal mistake!
We're losing Charlie. All zones lost. Hostiles reclaimed the lead. Locking down Bravo. Securing Charlie. Taking Bravo underway. Zone Charlie locked down.
You just made a fatal mistake!
They're taking C.
Delinquents! You just made a fatal mistake!
Taking B. Taking A.
Do you think that's funny?
Securing B.
You just made a fatal mistake! You just made a fatal mistake!
Bravo zone secure.
Your trophy system was working.
Losing B. Losing Bravo.
Button line.
Securing Alpha. We lost B. We're losing Charlie.
Do you think that's funny?
Locking down Bravo. They're taking C. We lost C. B locked down.
I hope you know something about hand-to-hand
Locking down
combat!
Charlie.
Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll! You
We're
just
losing
made a
Alpha.
fatal mistake! Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll!
We lost A. Losing Bravo.
You just made a fatal
Down
mistake!
A. Bravo lost. Taking Bravo underway.
You just made a fatal mistake!
Bravo zone secure.
You just made a fatal mistake!
Locking down Bravo. Losing A. Taking C. Securing C. We lost all
You
zones.
just made a fatal mistake!
Securing B. Taking C. Zone C secure. B locked down. Losing B.
Enemies destroyed your trophy system.
Taking Alpha.
You just made a fatal
We're losing
mistake.
Charlie. All locations locked down. Dig in and hold them. Losing Bravo. They're taking all zones.
Delinquents. You just made a fatal mistake. Do you think that's funny?
We've lost Alpha. Securing Alpha. Losing B.
Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll.
Losing Bravo.
You just made a fatal mistake.
Bravo lost. They're taking C.
You just made a fatal mistake.
All zones lost. Taking Bravo underway.
You just made a fatal mistake. You just made a fatal mistake.
Securing zone A. Taking B.
Incoming Semtex.
You just made a fatal mistake.
Securing C.
You just made a fatal mistake.
Charlie secured. We're losing Charlie. They're taking C. Losing Bravo. Location secure. Maintain current posture. We lost B. We're losing Alpha. Taking Bravo underway. All
Delinquents.
locations secured. Hold your position. Losing B. We're losing Charlie. Losing A. Losing Bravo.
You just made a fatal mistake. Now that that's out of the way, let's take
Lost
roll.
A.
You just made a
Taking
fatal
B.
mistake.
Stay on task. Losing B. Losing Bravo. Taking Alpha.
Your trophy system was eliminated.
Incoming flashback. You just made a fatal mistake.
Losing B.
You just made a fatal mistake. You just made a fatal mistake.
Bravo lost.
You just made a fatal mistake.
Locking down Bravo. Alpha secure. Securing B. All objectives locked down. Hold the enemy back. They're taking C. We're losing Alpha. We've lost Alpha. Losing Bravo.
You just made a fatal mistake.
Losing B.
Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll.
We're losing Charlie. We lost B. Taking B. Locking down Bravo.
Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll. Incoming subject.
Taking Bravo underway. They're taking C.
Do you think that's funny?
Bravo is ours. Taking Alpha. Losing Bravo. Securing Zone A.
You just made a fatal mistake!
Losing B.
You just made a fatal mistake! Now that that's out of the way, let's take roll!
Securing Alpha.
You just made a fatal mistake!
We're losing Charlie. Bravo lost.
Now that that's out of the way, let's take
Taking
roll!
B.
You just made a fatal mistake!
We lost all
You
zones.
just made a fatal mistake!
Locking down Charlie. Taking Alpha. Securing all zones. Securing B. Zone Alpha captured. Taking B. B secured.
Trophy system is out of ammunition.
Losing Bravo. Securing Charlie. Losing B. Taking C.
You just made a fatal mistake! You just made a fatal mistake!
They never stood a chance. Proceed to extract.